shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
Alright, the Portal Boys be podcasting. This is Joshua.
This is Elias.
What's up, my globe globs? On this episode, we're going to be covering episode 2, episode 7 of Rick and Morty, entitled Big Trouble in Little Sanchez. And this is a fun episode.
I loved it. Every bit of it.
Tiny Rick.
Tiny Rick's the best. I think he even changed up Wubba Lubba Dub Dub for this, right?
Yeah, we got to see Operation Phoenix, which is something that comes back around. We see Operation Phoenix come up again in the future.
Yeah, because he scrapped it, and then I think whenever they're going through fascist dictatorships.
Yeah, so he keeps accidentally at some point in the future plugging into other Ricks.
Yeah.
And then also, whenever Evil Morty's taking out the Citadel, they all pretty much go into their Operation Phoenix, and he's got them hooked up to blenders. So, like, shit gets crazy with Operation Phoenix.
Yeah, Operation Phoenix.
Shit gets crazy with Operation Phoenix.
I think the one of the better things that came, like, I don't think it's Operation Phoenix, but it's not on this episode. It's the distinctive clicks whenever he tells him to turn on the light. And he's got the guys in pods. I can't wait to get to that one. I hate to digress, but
it's okay.
Digression is the best.
But so on this episode, it basically starts out in traditional Rick and Morty fashion, where they're doing a family breakfast.
Breakfast, yes.
And Summer is asking Rick if she can,
the teacher dies. One of the teachers, because he's like, basically Jerry's like, how's everything going at school, guys? And they're like, well, nothing much. And it's like, a teacher died. And she had two puncture holes in her neck, and they're like, so Summer's in like freaked out because she's like, so vampires exist, and he's like, yeah, only they've been telling us that for hundreds of years.
Yeah, who would have thought, except for all of humanity for the last several hundred years?
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
I love that.
Are you a vampire fan at all? Like,
I mean, it can
Blade
and it can be cool. It can be bad.
It's one of those.
I'm a big Blade fan. I'm not a big Twilight fan.
Yeah, it's that equal balance, right?
Yeah, it really depends on how it's being portrayed.
Yeah, so you're into tough vampires, not sparkly ones.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, you can be sparkly. It's just like, I don't want you to be a 300-year-old pedophile trying to fuck high school girls. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, I get it.
Bruh, that is not half your age plus 7 at all, bro.
The old rule, right?
You're not even getting close to that, homeboy. Not even close.
And so, so he's so essentially we have a blowout at the breakfast table because I guess Beth isn't taking into consideration what Jerry's saying, but Jerry's also not paying attention to the whole conversation.
Yeah, basically, Beth is giving him shit about him not paying attention to the conversation,
and
and Jerry's giving Beth shit about not paying attention to him at all. And it's just like, oh, you're a victim, and it all just gets really
it's so great. And he's like, oh, the perpetual victim, it's so great.
Yeah, it's some nasty shit to be having to deal with at breakfast, and Rick has enough, and he's like, look, you fucking fix your marriage, or fucking get a divorce. And but this real awkward silence at the table. And
then I just love that. I love that Morty comes in with do you think they'll get a divorce? And the cynicism of Summer is like, well, we can wish. It's
I don't think it's bad to dream.
I don't think it's bad to dream. Yeah, it's like exactly. It's so great. The first child syndrome, right? Like she's the dream breaker.
Yeah, she's like, fuck this. I'm done with these. You guys are full of shit.
She's gonna go to Arizona and sell turquoise, or New Mexico, or whatever.
Somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, and then so turquoise. Yeah, it's so great.
I love that the moment that Jerry and Beth both quasi agree, Rick just gets up and grabs them both by the arm and is like, let's go. Now, go.
No time for clothes, let's just get out.
Yeah, you don't need a pack. Yeah. And as he's taking them there, they're in the back Jerry's like, I know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and she's
clearly implying that I'm not.
Yeah, Beth is not having any of this conversation.
And they're both just being so coy and stupid one another, and Rick is so
that
close
finger
to
over the button.
Have you seen the movie Heavy Metal?
Yeah. So
remember the Taxi? How if they tried to rob him, he'd hit that button and
it would it would melt them. Yeah, it would open up this light, and it would just
it exposed them directly to the Lochnar, and it just turned them into pus. And that's what I imagine Rick has. I imagine that Rick literally has the Lochnar in his car just for the sake of purging his passengers when he feels so.
I love that, like, man, there's like a handful of people that can respect heavy metal. Like, I don't think enough people got exposure to it. It's Canadian. It's amazing. I think that one of them is actually voiced by John Candy, which is amazing. Like one of the big characters.
Yeah.
And like when you're like 9 or 7 years old watching it, and you see the aliens doing lines of coke off of the ship floor, and you don't know what it is, it's just hilarious.
Bro, those two drug addict fucking aliens doing the copious amounts of drugs off of the fucking floor.
It's hilarious, man. You just don't know what it is because you're like a child. And
bro, heavy metal, like it was fun as a kid. It was fun as a teenager. It was fun as a young adult, and it's fun as an old man.
It really great. Like, it's just classic.
It's just aged like fine wine.
And there's just something great about when he's playing with like that heavy metal ball in the courtroom scene. Yeah, the Locknard. Yeah, the Locknard. He's playing with it in court, and it's just slowly changing his whole structure. You know, he's like trying to get them all. You know, they're trying to like galactic rapist or something off.
He's up there trying to be like a paid for person to get them off the hook, and like he just slowly fucking hulks out and comes unglued and like destroys the whole ship. He
goes from completely meek, timid Jerry
to like ultra gorilla.
Yeah,
ultra gorilla.
To basically Beth's idea of the perfect Jerry.
So if you haven't seen heavy metal, I highly recommend going and watching it. I'm certain that your preferred illegal streaming site will have a copy of it. Check it out. It's from like the
/ your preferred.
Yeah, it's like the late 80s, early 90s. Go where to stream heavy metal Reddit.
Yeah.
And into Google, and it's going to give you a fucking answer, I promise.
It's great. So we have the like you said, so we have basically Rick just yeeting them onto the platform and going directly back home to talk to basically just I mean I think it starts back in and it transitions back in with them at school, right?
Yeah, and while everything's going on at school, therapy starts with them basically sitting Jerry down. Yeah. They plop a mechanism on his head.
This is the best part, right? Yeah. Because it's like she's literally like kind of reading him still kind of being very rude to him.
She's being ugly to him as he's having his brain scanned.
Yeah, and so she what comes out is basically the xenomorph.
Yeah, the xenomorph brute.
Yeah. So it's really amazing. They did such a great job. I think it's got like 6 boobs, 6 tits, and like this like ridiculous head.
Scary ass monster, bro. It's a really scary ass
monster.
And
she's like, you don't think like that. You don't think of me like that. Take it back.
It's like, I can't. It's getting it out of my brain. How do I say, can you take it back? Can we scan me again?
And then her response to that is like, good luck getting anything out of me because he's dead to me.
Yeah, and she fucking is like intentionally thinking this ugly shit about him that she can as they scan him.
And what comes out is like a pustule worm making the most ridiculous
always its response to any trouble is to throw its ass in the air.
It was no, we're not doing that.
Like, who's doing that? Who does that?
Who does that? Yeah, literally showing the underside softness of its belly to Jerry itself. It's literally timid. It's intimidated by itself.
Yeah, it's like the real Jerry is way too much for it.
Yeah,
and I love that Jerry is like, do you guys see what I mean?
And he's like, I think we see what you both mean.
I believe we all see what you both mean.
Yeah,
and Jerry's just like sad, and Beth is just like.
Well, he kind of like self-owned himself at the very beginning of entering the couple's retreat, because she's like. He's like, don't talk down to my dad, and he's like, he's the only reason our kids are half as smart. And she's like, that means you said you're part. Oh, and he's like, he just figures out she called him basically an idiot.
Yeah, you're 100% stupid. That's why our kids are only 50% smart. And he like pieces it together.
Yeah, he pieces it together as the words are just falling out of his mouth.
Yeah, he like, I got you. Oh, never mind.
Oh, never mind. That's sad.
I love that as the couples therapists are like showing off all of these dysfunctional mythological couples, it sidetracks over to the side and shows us that basically the monster Beth has bossed the worm Jerry into sneaking over into her side of the cage.
Yeah, she's like beckoning it over, and since it's so malleable and weak, it can literally cut through the lines of the like shock.
Yeah, it's like,
and the funny thing is that
it's like an octopus.
Yeah,
he has no bones.
And for some reason, Jerry tests the waters right away. It touches the fence, like it literally has no concept of danger. In the sense of like it does, but it doesn't. It's constantly scared, but it's still testing boundaries because it had to touch the fence, even though it clearly represented as something dangerous. It still felt it was necessary to
stupid enough to go touch that fence.
To go touch the fence, and then it was able to manipulate itself through the fence. And Beth, knowing in itself that since it's dark, its blood clearly has to be.
Well, I think she just tried something on the fly.
Yeah,
she's like, let's see. And like the moment she realized that she could paint him black, she gets like this evil look on her face. And the counselor like takes them from cage to cage, and they get to the Smith's cage.
Yeah.
And they can't.
And each one is kind of systematically destroying one of the two groups, right? So like one of individuals. So like one of them rips the eyes out, the other one is fighting ripping its tongue out.
Yeah, they're fighting like to the death. Like, these two don't get along. These are the only group that have had any semblance of like working together.
Yeah, and that's what scares them when it literally whenever a Xenomorph Beth releases out, it's like he screams, "They're codependent," you know. It's like the fear is the codependency of like.
I thought it was funny how it reminded me of like the scene in the most recent Jurassic Park film, where the like Tyrannoraptor was fucking the nacho cheese supremedon was fucking in its frog skin. And it was like hiding from everybody. And they're like, "Where's it at? I'm a dude in a cage with like the most dangerous thing imaginable." And, like, this is somehow a good idea. And I walked in and left the door open. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, literally, dude, you don't walk into a cage with these hellaciously monstrous mythologs and leave the door open while you're checking to see if they're actually still in there or not. Like, this is like come on, man. That's what you do.
Talk about taking a 30-second, like, person... B.D. Wong. I think he's like in the first movie for like all of 30 seconds, and then making him the entire crux of being the bad guy. So wild.
Yeah.
So wild. Like he's a throwaway character on the first Jurassic Park, and then ends up coming back as like one of the main. I don't know if I would call him a villain, but money interest capitalist, right?
It winds up being a protagonist.
Yeah.
It winds up being like,
and it's just wild.
The instigator of what's
which is funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's just so strange that like. You know.
That's Steven Spielberg writing for you. Finding a way to milk the money out of that franchise.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna find the way to milk this franchise.
As literally everything that the character was talking about, it becoming a monster and putting a label on it, is literally what Jurassic Park became. Jurassic Park the movie became, and on top of that, the whole book was written as an anti-capitalist film, only to be fed into this capitalist structure, which is hilarious in nature.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna write a book about that's meant to highlight the shortcomings and inbuilt flaws of capitalism.
Yeah.
Now let's take the idea and scrunch it through the meat press that is capitalism and see what comes out of it.
You know what comes out of it? A shit ton of toys and 10 movies.
I'll tell you what, bro. Honestly, the first movie I ever remember seeing in theaters was Jurassic Park. Like, it was a big deal for me.
The T-Rex literally belts out that horrible elephant and like 3 other animals scrunched together noise. I think it turns you on as a human being.
Well, I'll tell you right now
like,
that the real life special effects of OG Jurassic Park shit on the special effects that you're going to get in the like there's one that's coming out that I'm going to go watch for my birthday. It's like it comes out right around my birthday.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch it for my birthday, and I know for a fact that the level of like believability of the dinosaurs that I'm going to see on the screen in 2022 is not going to be the same level of believability that I got in '94.
I mean, isn't that it's funny that it's moving so far away. I mean, we literally had xenomorphs being puppeted by, you know, guys who were like, well, I think the person was like 6'9", you know, and all these great things that come out of like literally being held back by or being hindered by and coming out of that great art and great fantastic art when it comes to makeup, when it comes to special effects, all these great things are just kind of like thrown away by the wayside. Which, don't get me wrong, CGI is of course an art in itself, but there is that, what is it, the uncanny valley. Things aren't gonna.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely missing something without.
Yeah, there's just robots. A spirit lost in it, right?
Like them big robots were like, oh my god, believable.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Jaws in itself was such a great movie, and
yeah.
it was. I mean, they would make fun of it. I think they called it like a diva, on set. Like the shark was a diva because it worked when it wanted to, and it was mechanical, and it did what it basically was the hardest thing to. It was shown in like maybe all of 8 frames, and was like the most difficult thing to work with.
I'll tell you right now, that shark is so much scarier than the sharks from Deep Blue Sea.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like those big computer sharks, that was like, these are fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see that big shark in Jaws, like, that's real.
Yeah, when it pops out, he's throwing the chum. I mean, it's definitely, it's a fear, Or you see Beth Xenomorph. I mean, there's a reason why they conjured that as the fear of what Jerry sees. A mother, for one, she is a mother. She creates, but her point of creation is basically to pop out of the stomach of its host. To basically destroy the host in the most horrible way to create more xenomorphs. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
Jerry definitely knew what he was doing.
It's definitely not a polite interpretation of your spouse.
Yeah, but then a worm.
If you're thinking of your spouse as a xenomorph brood mother, you're doing wrong.
And
right?
I mean, and literally thinking of him as a ass, a presenting ass showing worm. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad all around.
Yeah.
And so at this point, the mythologues go on a tirade, right?
Yeah,
they're
they
like
just say
through walls. They're killing the security staff.
I mean, just cutting through them like zero. Like,
I mean, even little worm Jerry, like a boa constrictor wraps around somebody, like squeezes them until their head pops.
Yeah.
Like, even worm Jerry is like a killer.
Yeah.
Like, don't make any mistake. But
well, the funny thing is, I guess even as like, I guess, timid and backbone he is, Beth does know that he will survive.
Well, and at the end of the day, they're making fucking monsters. Like, the whole point of this thing is to make a monster bastardized version. So that's the closest thing to a monster bastardized version of Jerry come up with, is like a killer worm.
Yeah.
But so as they're running along with the counselor, right?
Yeah.
The counselor's like, you guys have the worst marriage in the history of ever.
Yeah.
And this gives Jerry and Beth,
they become indignant.
Yeah, they get like a common enemy, and they're like, well, this is just bad fare.
Yeah, this is just bad.
And they both like kind of like turn
pass
their nose
the buck,
up, and like you can tell, like that's like they come together in that moment.
Yeah, they pass the buck, and they blame the only person who was there to literally tie the marriage back together as the common enemy.
I also think it's funny that one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode is when they're running and they like get to the evacuation site and they yell from the chopper, "Will they have room for one more?" He's like, "It's okay. I'm a therapist. I'll go and talk to him."
Yeah.
And as he runs up, he's like, "I'm a therapist. They're not therapists. Fuck them."
Yeah.
And they just.
Which, I mean, in any case, I think there was another episode where Jerry, I think it's either Beth or someone, has the opportunity to escape, and they legit abandon them because they're horrible people. I think for some reason that's coming to mind. I don't know particularly.
Do you think of the party whenever they wouldn't go party with Summer?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
so like, Summer, you're a bitch.
Yeah, it's just like, we're just not gonna party with you.
But basically, they get left by the evacuation team, and Jerry finds a panel, and he's like, "Look,
I love that
panel."
She's looking at the map. She's literally trying to tear a door open, and here's Jerry. He's like, "Hey, look at what this is. It's a panel small enough to fit one of us. Maybe you can find a panel." He's like, not even like, come in here and hang out. Like,
it's like, we could survive maybe a few hours or a few days.
And I love how she literally breaks down as just like, me as an individual is far more capable than us as a team. So yes, stay in your cubby and let me take care of things. And then that's when he comes to terms with like Worm Jerry showing his ass and his soft underside, and him like, this is the way.
Yeah, well, in this, like, in that moment, right, like, as Beth is like, I'm gonna go take care of shit, literally Xenomorph Beth and Worm Jerry burst out from underneath the fucking floor.
Yeah.
And Beth tries to be like, I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
And like mythologue, Beth just literally like grabs her up, and
she Karens the situation and gets like basically taken out.
Yeah.
Or, like, pulled in.
Well, she's like, I want to talk to you, and like, this is a monster, rather than it grabs her and it's no problem.
Yeah,
and then
it has no understand. It has no reason or understanding. It doesn't have to listen to her.
No, it's a big bad bitch.
Yeah,
and the worm Jerry chases off Jerry, and they go around the corner, and Jerry gets cornered, and he goes to fight back against worm Jerry, and he realizes in this moment how worthless Beth thinks of him as, and how completely spineless this mythologue is, and realizes that he can.
He literally just raises the fist.
Yeah,
he doesn't even hit it.
Dominate it with nothing but the threat of violence, and then like effectively now has this worm Jerry on his side, and they come back to like the
which isn't too far from what Jerry really is, right? We were joking about it. All Jerry has to do is pour water. He makes himself available to whoever needs him in that moment.
Yeah,
he survives on the fact of being needed, not wanted.
Well, he's just gonna slipperily find his way in however he can. Like, he's gonna survive, even if that means pouring. If it's anywhere from pouring water to murdering mantis people with shotguns, right? Yeah. Anywhere in between here and there, Jerry's gonna find the path of least resistance for him. You just better believe it's gonna be the path of least resistance.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Jerry and Worm Jerry come up on the scene, and Evil Beth has strapped Beth into the machine, and they're getting her to like make waves upon waves upon waves of Worm Jerrys, so that she can dominate the universe. And like the Evil Beth even like gives Beth like a talking to, like, Jerry's subservience is lost on you.
Yeah, you
I'm
don't
gonna fucking make an army of these guys and dominate the whole galaxy.
The best one of that is like when she literally calls her, like, she says you're dumb. Like, if Jerry made you, you're dumber than he gives you credit for or whatever. So basically, even in his ideal Beth, still doesn't match up to her idea of herself,
Yeah.
She which in turn is, well, we won't cut to the very end. Now let's get there, right?
So Jerry shows up to save the day, and he has like an assault rifle.
Yeah, he just like,
where did he get this fucking assault rifle at?
Yeah, he just like picks up an assault rifle and along the way somehow, and then just starts gunning down worms. And
this makes the Jerrys that are being popped out by the machine way more badass.
Yeah.
Like, they're like muscled up and cool. And
then he gets the gun and he's like, I'm here to save you, Beth. And then there's pictures of Jerry with Jerry's face on it.
They're like, I'm Jerry. And they're like shaking each other's hands, like networking.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, I get it. Like, let's go back to like, you seeing me as a badass.
Well, so at any rate, Jerry gets over to Beth. Right, and him and the muscle Jerry's try and bend her out of the big steel beam.
And he's like, Jerry, you can't bend steel. And then he's like, well, think of a Jerry who can. Or think of some, like,
think of a version of me who can.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't do that when I'm actively watching you fail to do it. And something snaps for Jerry, and Jerry puts the hat on one of the muscles.
Because he immediately comes to Beth's defense. Like, don't talk to her like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, watch your tone.
Yeah.
You're talking to a Beth.
Yeah, you don't talk to Beth like that in front of me.
Yeah. And so immediately, like you said, with all together, he gets this aha moment of throwing the helmet
on one of the muscle Jerrys, and it like makes this like multi-armed Hindu god version of Beth.
Have you heard the thing of like, if your boyfriend calls you a goddess, then punch him in the face? Because the biblical definition of a goddess, of an angel. If your boyfriend calls you an angel, hit him in the face, because the biblical definition of an angel is a creature with hundreds of eyes and unimaginable fear that comes across you, because it's like it's something that is unimaginable by humans. It literally has eyes and says, "Fear me not," So it's just this like funny thing of like, when he thinks of a goddess, it's literally like three faces of Beth, and it's like what an interpretation of an actual goddess would be,
Yeah. And I love that God Beth is like, this interpretation displeases me.
And immediately
zaps her with one finger.
And it's like a lotus flower, isn't it? It's like a beautiful like lotus flower.
It's some like Hindu herpy-derpy shit. Yeah. You can tell it's some hippie shit they make this bitch do. But this effectively saves the day, right?
Yeah,
like the mythologues are both dead. There's only like the relatively docile versions of Jerry running around, and they're sitting there and they like are talking about the prospect of their relationship, and they basically agree to like
stay together for the kids again.
Yeah, at least until Morty graduates high school.
Yeah.
And while all of this is going on, right, we have one of the most iconic things that's ever happened in Rick and Morty happen. We get Tiny Rick.
Tiny Rick. And what is his catchphrase instead of Wubba Lubba Dub Dub? It's like
Wubba Lubba Noop Nop or
something like that, yeah. And he's like he's enthusiastic. He loves his grandkids. He's actually like he doesn't really apologize to Summer, but he definitely says that since he blew her off, he was like, no, let's see where this takes me. Like,
it was like, I
got some free time.
Y'all went to school. I was at home alone. I thought about how big a dick I was, and I was like, fuck, I got nothing else going on. I can go help my grandkids.
Yeah.
And so he has effectively uploaded his consciousness into a teenage version of himself, who still has gray hair, by the way.
Yeah.
And so everybody who wants to go that Morty is young Rick, we know what a teenage Rick looks like.
Yeah, wait, is it his interpretation of what a teenage Rick looks like, or is that what he actually looks like?
Rick grew these from cells.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's true, right?
That's like there was an embryonic version of him.
Yeah.
There was like a prepubescent one. There was a teenage one. There was a midlife one.
And he stops it. Yeah.
Right. And so like these are like what Rick looks like at different stages in his life, and so. I don't think that Morty's Rick anymore, especially like with that going on like that. Like we've seen what a teenage Rick looks like. He doesn't have the same head. Like it's a different character. But
and so he essentially like goes up to like Uber Chad, the most popular guy in high school, and of course Summer's swooning over him, and he's like, hey, he goes. He's like introduces himself and he's like, hey, don't hassle me, I'm the new guy. And then he's like, hey man, I like like how upfront you are, and your lab coat's pretty cool, And he's like
acknowledges Summer on the way out.
Yeah, and he's like, hey Summer, and she's like, oh my god, he knows my name. She's like totally like, Tiger beat.
The point is
over
that
him.
Rick is immediately super fucking popular.
Yeah, he just like he hits the ground running.
Yeah. And so they wind up ridding the school of vampires.
I love how they do it so quick, and it doesn't even show it. It's just a gloss over.
There's
of
just like a duffel bag full of bloody spikes.
And he's like, I can't believe it was Coach Feratu. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Come on. So what's the story behind Feratu?
So Nosferatu would be like the antithesis. I think it's like the base, the starting of that was Nosferatu, and I think it was in a movie. Was like one of the most.
Like one of the OG vampires.
Yeah, it was like one of the most important silent era movies. I think was Nosferatu.
Okay.
And it's like, basically Dracula before Dracula, Nosferatu, the head vampire. Yeah.
And so Tiny Rick decides to stay tiny for a while so that he can party with the kids.
Everything,
right?
like these little things start coming up, right?
Yeah. Like right as he's about to upload himself back into the old man body, right? Summer gets a text message from the Uber chat and is like, let's throw a party. And basically, for some reason, Rick needs to be around in order for them to throw a party. Oh, because
the popular kid asked for him to be there. Yeah, and she's like, and she kind of gets her feelings hurt because she can tell that she wants, I think she because she loves her grandpa.
She's thinking with her pussy at this point, in quite the same way as Morty winds up thinking with his dick. And so he stays a kid.
Yeah, he stays a kid, and he's taking the piss out of the old man. He's like, who could have fun with this old bag of bones? And he's and he's totally shitting all over old Rick, and he's telling him like, who could have fun when he's around? And look at, he's like, well, Summer's like, how does this work? And he explains like the liquid, and then he's like, it keeps tissue alive, but there wasn't much to keep alive to begin with. So he's totally shitting on his old self.
Absolutely having a ball being a teenager. And so they throw the party. Summer's getting to hang out with the popular kids. Morty and Jessica are hitting it off.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it all seems to be moving.
Everything's working out for the kids.
Yeah,
right. But things isn't working out for Rick, and Rick
is dying. Yeah,
Rick literally plays a song. And he's just begging for help.
And I love that teenage Rick is everything that probably adult Rick would hate. He literally is the guitar guy. That is the worst guy you can be.
Well, I think that he was literally just like,
he's crying to help.
He was just finding a way to get, like, I'm dying in the garage. Yeah. Like, somebody please fucking help me. Let me out.
Yeah, let me out. Let me out. Yeah, he used to. And then God dang it.
Goldenfold winds up giving the next day in school. Yeah. Goldenfold gives the entire class the day off because Morty's party was so dope.
And he's like, yeah, we should have if we're spending time with little Rick, or what is it? Tiny Rick. Then at this point we should have as much time with him as possible. Let's all go outside. And who does he call out? And he goes, "You better put some sunscreen on, girl." He just like calls some random name in the group of students, and he's like, go get sun, go listen to music, and you better put sunblock on, girl. It's like hilarious.
I love that. So Summer asks Rick to change back, but Rick and Morty both push back.
Yeah, because the dance is that.
Yeah,
night.
Now there's a dance. Yeah, now there's a dance the following night. And it's just like another thing.
Yeah, this is one more thing. And Summer and Rick and Morty have devised a plan to kind of get him closer with Jessica, so and she's kind of over it by now. She knows that he's hurting, and she's like, but of course now Morty's thinking solely with this.
Yeah, dick. Summer definitely is starting to she's already like had her moment with the Chad, like her party opportunity came and went, so now she's like post nut clarity, like let's think about this, and she's seeing clearly that Rick is like calling
in
for
pain,
help. And she sees the art, right, and Rick's like, help me, Rick, help me, Summer, and Morty isn't a call for help. It's the name of the title. It's the title
theme
of the art.
It's the title of the art, and it's just so great.
An emo streak. He's like, what makes me so cool.
And he's like, I'd really hate for the new guy in your life to find out you're a total crazy bitch. And he's like, he goes, most people don't like that.
Yeah, he's immediately holding her hostage, right?
Yeah, and so.
I love that Morty tells her to get all her shit and put it in a backpack. Get your shit together.
That's
like one of the lines
GIF or a GIF. That lives like basically on Facebook and any kind of like.
It lives rent free in my brain.
Yeah, it lives. Get all your shit, get it all together, put it in a little pile, put it in a backpack.
Take it on down to the shit store and sell it if you need to. Just get your shit together. He like walks off and like pokes his head back. He's like, "Get your shit together." Like really drives it home.
It's the best. Yeah, that's like one of the best lines ever on this episode. I don't want to cut back, but there's so many great little cut lines, like little cut downs. I think that happen throughout this. It's another one of those great episodes that really every jab feels a little bit harder when it comes from these sharp tongues, and it's really great writing,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean I can fawn over the quality of writing every episode. I mean, it's one of those things where I literally feel like they give this dude, like the guy who's writing it, Roiland, like a set of criteria, and just like whatever ignorance falls out of his mouth, they just have to be committed to rolling with that.
Yeah, it's just like
they capture the spontaneity of it really well.
The alphabet falls out of his mouth, and it's just their job to kind of
it feels like a spontaneous response at times. Like whenever these characters interact with one another,
you can almost feel the laughter in the background of like what the line was, and like they had to cut the laughter out because it's just like you can feel it in the tone of their voice. When you've worked a lot of jobs, you've told me that, so like.
Way more jobs than I care to count.
So I'm sure you've heard this a number of times. They can hear you smile.
They can.
It's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking with a smile on, they can hear that shit. It's true.
So it's like you can hear the creativity and laughter.
Yeah, absolutely. You can hear that it's a fun, spontaneous environment where they're producing this.
And so from here, we're getting closer to the dance.
We're at the dance.
Yeah, we're at the dance. And Summer is like basically, like you said, it's post-nut clarity. He's like, she's trying to like now coax Morty into helping her get Grandpa back.
Yeah, well, so what happens is they get to the party and Rick does his Let Me Out dance song, and Morty like starts to like really piece it together right then.
Yeah.
And right as he goes like, maybe I should help, Jessica goes, let's slow dance.
Yeah. And is it just me, or is it the same T-shirt but collared?
I don't know. I don't remember well enough.
I think for some reason I'm seeing it as this yellow, his like shitty yellow T-shirt, but just collared, and I don't know why that made me laugh. I think it's just like this thing that I
dripless. He's flagged with it.
Yeah, it was like Summer throughout wearing the blue blouse because he said it looked good on her. So throughout the entire duration of the story arc, she will not take off the blue blouse. You know,
because she's trying to please old boy.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Morty's like starting to figure it out, but Jessica detracts him from being able to help. And Principal Vagina grabs Rick and like pulls him to the side and explains that he basically has to expel him because they received a tip and they found like the murder weapons of Coach Feratu in Rick's locker. And he's like, now, because he's a vampire, the school board's real embarrassed about it. They don't want to go public. But we can't have you killing teachers, so we're going to have to expel you.
And I love the fact that like he basically tells him, he's like, it's not my idea. I don't even mind that you're like a 60-year-old man in a kid's body. Like, we're all cool with you, but like we just can't have you willy-nilly killing teachers.
Yeah, I love how like it's completely oriented the wrong way.
I think that
their
like
priorities are so backwards.
And you called it out on there because like at the party with like zero fucks given, Morty's like, oh, well, no, my grandpa just, like, created a person, like, put his consciousness in it. It's like that, and, like just spilled the beans immediately.
Yeah, it was just so, like, straightforward about that. Like, it was, like, cut and dry. This is exactly what happened. And I love that Jessica was like, oh.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Jessica always rolled the punches.
Yeah, she's
I hate that she got locked in a crystal and got turned into a time god in the later season.
She literally saw the creation and destruction of an entire civilization.
That's a hard deal to go through, man. It's a hard deal to go through. Let me tell you.
She was stuck in a crystal, and all you had to do was just take a little bit of powder to find God.
Yeah, it feels like an infinity, though. Let me tell you, bro. Like, you can spend a lot longer than 12 hours in the span of 12 hours.
We were talking about Duncan Trussell off air. But did you hear when...
Yeah, I'm about to start advertising with that, guys. It's going to be great.
So did you hear Ari Shaffir living an entire lifetime? Like, he lived an entire life.
Yeah, I think it was his little...
Salvia trip.
I think they had that little production called Tales from the Trip.
Yeah, and it was Salvia. He was on Salvia, and I've never done Salvia. I don't recommend Salvia. I have a cousin that was very... They had an addictive personality, and so Salvia was just one of those many avenues to fulfill that addictive personality. And he pissed himself, like he like pissed his pants and was like convulsing on the thing, and then like comes out of it, you know. And he's like, "Yeah, it's a trip."
Holy shit! Yeah, I don't need to be pissing on myself.
No, I'm good. Yeah, not like.
Don't need to be pissing on myself.
And Salvia is a Texas native plant. Like, it grows wildly. Like, Salvia is one of those. Like, you can literally go out today and you can go to like Big Red Top. Nursery and get a salvia plant. I'm not recommending you do it. I'm just saying they regulate marijuana to the nth degree.
You can also grow poppy plants.
Yeah, and that's the
like
duration of
Yeah, you can literally go out in the morning and like have 20 poppy plants and just like skewer them and get the goo and have like the most potent fucking opium sauce ever. Like you have to. The fucking kill
there's you. An entire festival in Georgetown derived from poppy.
So I don't want to fucking hear it, but. Basically, man.
This is going to SUIL. We're going to talk about drugs. Not kidding.
But so Rick comes back into the party.
Yeah.
Into the dance.
And he's
throws juice on Summer. Is like, Summer's a psycho bitch. You got me expelled. And everyone's like, God damn, talk about self-destructive, going after her against Tiny Rick.
Yeah, like
Sheesh.
yeah, she that was Jessica. Jessica's like, wow, this bitch is self-destructive. Like, what's she thinking?
And so Rick leaves, and the first thing he goes to do after leaving the dance is he goes to kill himself.
Yeah, he goes to
He's like I'm done with this old body. Like, I'm going to be young forever. And he gets ambushed by Morty and Summer in the garage, and Morty winds up...
He's like, I'm going to do it... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to do what old Rick would do if he was here. He'd kick your ass. And he winds up putting him in a headlock, and Summer puts headphones in him to make him listen to Elliott Smith. And... I don't know who the fuck Elliott Smith is.
If I'm not mistaken, it's either two things. It's either The Smiths, which is like... It's so funny because like there's a whole thing about the Smiths that's like Chicanos love the Smiths. Now I might be wrong because the Smiths may be a completely different song, or it's Elliott Smith, the person that they're talking about, who killed himself at a very young age, and I don't know if you ever seen the Royal Tenenbaums. It's an iconic movie, and there's a scene where I think it's Owen Wilson's brother. I can't think of the other Wilson's brother. Cuts his wrist. Luke Wilson kills himself, and the song playing is "Needle in the Hay." And if you ever listen to that song, it will literally, like, you will manifest tears you didn't even know were there.
Well, I mean, even while he's got the headphones on,
yeah.
How can someone so talented guy still yell?
Yeah. So it's I think it's that guy.
Well, I mean, they said it was Elliott Smith.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Elliott Smith is in the band The Smiths, or
I
if
don't know if it's even real. Like, you know, the Rimper Grumble joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time they make a joke, I'm like, is that even a real thing?
But like, if
am I just laughing because I'm an idiot right now?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I'm having this like gut feeling that it's the guy who sings "Needle in the Hay," and like I said, this song is legit emo to the nth degree, you know? Yeah.
But so, to make a long story short, Tiny Rick winds up plugging back into Old Man Rick.
He's like, get this song out, get this thing away from me, and put the blue thing on the temple and the purple cup on the middle of that. And he's, you know what, just put it on my head. I don't even care.
It's like, put the left on my left temple, put the blue on my left temple and the right on why does nobody like me?
She's like, focus!
Like, just fucking put the things on my head. And the moment...
It's just so teenagery.
Yeah,
I'm so sad.
The moment that Rick gets back, he shits on Morty for selling him out for some pussy.
He's like, way to like just tell me out for some. What is he? He says something.
Trim.
Yeah. Oh, so funny.
And then Rick proceeds to kill all of his.
Yeah, he presses a button and they like literally go down and
like literally axe murders all of the bodies.
One more here for the road, and just one more stick in the axe. So
and then he realizes that Beth and Jerry have been blowing him up, and he goes to pick them up. And
covered in blood.
Yeah, and he shows up. He's still naked. He shows up to pick him up, still naked.
I think he like kind of like side hugs Summer, or like he's a little too like in her bubble, and she's like pants.
Yeah,
you know.
And so Rick picks him up. He's still naked, and like Jerry goes, "Well, it seems like our stories were connected by a particular theme." And Rick's like, "Yeah, it's probably."
Something that you perceived as a theme because you don't have the understanding.
It's probably just a cosmetic. Yeah. It's probably just a cosmetic appearance that your brain thought was a thematic one.
Yeah.
And like regular Rick back to shitting on everything, ruin everything.
And he's like, "Can we please leave? I've been in a child, and he's like, I've been in a child for too long, and I can feel my bones."
Yeah, I've been in a child all day, and I can feel my bones rubbing together. Which, in how many circumstances can you hear someone say, "I've been in a child all day," and not be straight up pedophilia?
And it's just like glossed over completely, and it's like,
but that's just
he's been a pickle. So
that's just the craziness that goes on in this verse.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that we didn't talk about is that the name of the cereal. They're eating the cereal.
Strawberry Schmiggles?
Yes, they're eating Strawberry Schmiggles.
So they didn't have... That wasn't the scene. That happened on... where they pulled the food out of his entrails. That happened on one of the interdimensional cable episodes. But they did, in fact, have Strawberry Schmiggles at the table.
Yeah.
But they also keep eye holes at the table.
Yeah.
And, like, in the pantry. Like, Rick has all the cool fucking...
Yeah, he has, like, the best...
All the cool interdimensional foods in the house.
Which, now that... It's kind of sucky because it just goes to show that he could have been giving them the best ice cream ever. But he chose not to. He chose to just like he knows what to keep at like an arm's distance.
Well, it's like, you know, you can't treat yourself if you have the best of the best all the time.
Exactly.
Like, we're going to go have a special day. We're going to visit a special universe and watch a special movie and eat the best ice cream. It's right. Yeah. Like you get to make an event of it. Right. Like he's just living at that point.
Yeah. He just. I mean, and so there's also that, and there was this really great like throwaway line where he basically talks shit about Jerry, but it's just like the so toss away line. I like I said, this is just a sharp. These last two episodes were just so sharp tongued in its nature. I just absolutely adore everything about the fact that they can do that, and just kind of like it can be just a toss away line, but it can cut so deep. You know.
Oh, I mean, let's be frank. Like a lot of times, what's funny about this show isn't the situation. It isn't the premise.
Yeah.
It's like the shit talk that happens throughout.
Yeah.
Right. Like the shit talk that they put each other through, and like the quips, like they're quips.
Yeah.
And like comebacks and like quick.
What I love about Summer so much is that she can be so violent and so angry, but in the same term, she's still very smart and capable to keep up with the banter, and even throw her own banter in it that cuts to the core of Rick and Morty. That cuts to the core of them, like literally isolate and run back what Summer said. Oh, then you two are gonna jerk each other off. And he's like, That's gross. You know, just like it still manages to get a rise out of both of them. They're able. They know where to go with each other to get that rise.
Yeah, she's actually funny. She's everything that Meg from Family Guy ever wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually fun. Actually provides utility, but it's still also the whip and stick.
Yeah,
the lowest on the totem.
Yeah, she's literally like Morty's mind blowers, and he's like, "Oh, this is a protocol, whatever." And
I love that they rely on Summer, man.
Yeah, and
like Summer's the one who had to hit the buttons to get the thing to launch off to help him out during the Purge World.
But
she's the one
she
who
doesn't
got
come
sent
free.
to the Marianas Trench to help with Mr. Nimbus.
Yeah,
like she's always like she's the one who's there to save the day after Rick fucking evaporates his memories on his own. Like if it's not for Summer, he's a fucking husk.
And she doesn't come free because she's like, you don't pay me enough for this, so she doesn't come free. Like that girl knows her worth. Like, and she's about it. That's really all you can say. She's definitely her mother's daughter. You know.
Well, I feel good about this episode. I feel like
I love this episode.
A bunch of bullshit, guys. It's been a ton of fun. My glib globs. Appreciate y'all all for tuning in. Keep up with us, man. We're gonna keep producing more of this shit. We're at a good 45 minutes.
God, that one felt so good. I almost feel like it was perfect timed, man. Thank y'all very much. This I'm Elias.
This is Joshua.
All right,
the Portable Boys be podcasting.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.